Pleased to have on the show tonight Spencer Curry and Kieran Foran. Thank you very much for being on to talk about aquaponics.
Thanks for having us here, Ann.
You betcha. All right, for people who don't know what aquaponics is, you get to talk about it first. What is it?
Love it. So aquaponics is sort of the natural evolution of hydroponics. And briefly, for any of your viewers who aren't familiar with hydroponics or want a quick update, basically we're growing plants in water that has fertilizer in it, rather than using a chemical-based fertilizer, which is traditional in hydroponics. We're growing fish and plants together in a sustainable ecosystem. So our fish provide our fertilizer, the plants provide all the filtration, and we have a closed-loop system with no waste, totally organic, and totally sustainable.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think a good analogy for folks at home is the Connecticut River ecosystem. In this state, that's where the best farmland is. And the reason for that is because in the spring, when the river floods from all the snow melts and things like that, all that land gets deposited with nutrient-rich water. And what we're doing with aquaponics is just taking that and putting it into a container. So we're just, sort of taking the natural cycles of nature and just putting it in a closed-loop system that you can grow food anywhere.
And this is taken off across the country as we try to grow our own food, food safety, all of that. So we should tell everybody that you're lifelong friends. Mm-hmm. You went to Northeastern, Kieran, and you went to UVM.
Yeah.
And you get a degree in what?
So I studied Latin and philosophy, so not your average farmer.
And you studied?
Political science, so again, not your typical farming background.
Yeah.
You went to Northeastern, you got a job. You turned your back on the job. What was it?
It was this idea that struck us. My last year at Northeastern, we came across the concept of aquaponics one late night when we were just, sort of talking about what was wrong in the world, and we get to Googling, and we stumble upon aquaponics. And from that day forward, it was like kismet. The next day he was out in Boston buying a fish, traveling the subway system with fish, getting our first system set up in our Boston apartment. And from that day forward, we just haven't looked back. There was no original plan, but now we've got a really good plan for moving forward.
We should say that you left the state and you came back to Connecticut. So I love this already because we need to keep our kids here in the state of Connecticut. You formed this partnership, and how's it going?
It's going great. We often get the thing like, hey, it can be hard working with friends. People love to tell us that. Are there ups and downs? Of course, with any relationship, that's the case. But I think that our friendship has actually strengthened our business relationship and vice versa, where we have to think out, we know each other very well. We know how each other think, and that plays into the business aspect, and then it helps cool things down when we want to relax and just kind of hang out.
Now, where are you growing your plants? Where in the state?
So right now we're in South Glastonbury, Connecticut, just outside of Hartford, kind of smack dab in the center of the state.
And how does this work? You're leasing a space. Tell me how this works, Kieran.
Yeah, we partnered up with a local farmer in town, Rob Armando. He's of Rob's Farm and Ice Cream Shop in South Glastonbury, Connecticut, and he's a third generation, fourth generation farmer. I can't quite remember. And he's just had a lot of extra land that he's not using because he mainly does farming business. So we approached him and said, hey, we've been testing out this idea. At the time, we had a pretty big system at Spencer's house in his backyard, prototype, you might say.
Your parents must have loved us.
Yeah.
And Rob came out, checked out the system, really loved what we were doing, saw the potential in it, and said, yeah, sure, I'd love to give you guys a hand and help you out. So we've been working with him, getting our system up and going, proofing out our idea, and sort of, starting making roads in the community and serving our community.
And you want other people in the state of Connecticut to embrace aquaponics. So you're teaching already at the ripe old age of 25 years old. You're teaching other folks how to do this. We have some pictures that you sent me, so we're going to start going through them just one by one so you can show folks what it is. Now, what is this?
All right, so this is an image of our farm up at Rob's. Before we had planted anything in there, you can actually see that the greenhouse is not even covered yet. So this is about a year and a few months ago.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing are these troughs of water. So our fish water will flow through those troughs, and our plants are simply laid right on top on a floating raft. The roots dangle down in, and they soak up all the nutrients they need, and meanwhile the plants grow up out of the roots, and we have our aquaponics system.
What kind of fish do you put in here?
In that system, we're growing koi fish.
Okay, koi fish. And what kind of items are you growing? I'm taking this is lettuce?
This is lettuce. So this is some of our beautiful Salanova lettuce that we get from Johnny's in Maine. And this stuff, our chefs love it, our
Grows
fans
like
love
crazy,
it.
too.
Grows
It
like
grows
crazy.
fast.
Yeah, you can see it here is just growing like a little forest. So these are the troughs filled out with lettuces on top.
And how do you harvest and where does it go?
So we actually have a pretty unique way of harvesting. We do live harvest. We bring all our plants still living to the market. So because we can just take them right out of the water, roots intact, we can put them in a little jar or any other kind of carry-all, bring them right to the farmer's market, for example. They're still living, and let's say, you know, on a good day, we sell them out. That's great. People can buy them still alive, take them home, and keep them living at their house.
How did you know how to build this greenhouse, if you will? And how big is it? I mean, you guys, Northeastern and UVM, you've become farmers, you know, indoor farmers. Let's say. How did you know how to do this?
Trial and error. I mean, you just got to feel forward when you're trying with something new. This day and age, you know, the internet provides a lot of good, valuable resources. There are a few industry experts who we, you know, we're consulting with in the early stages to sort of get our handle around things and make sure our plans were sound and stuff. But at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and saw a piece of wood in half and see if you can screw it together and hope that it works.
Biggest problems you've had so far? I'm assuming you're looking for some angel investors to help you do this. I mean, you're doing it on your dime at this point to get this going?
We bootstrapped just about everything so far. We actually, just here in New Haven, we pulled in the Entrepreneur Innovation Award from CT Next.
Nicely done.
Yeah, so that's been pretty much our only outside funding. And we bootstrapped it this way, but now we are looking, we have a new project on the immediate horizon. We're actually looking to take our technology and bring it to the cities to help provide food secure cities, not only by building plants like your typical hydroponic garden, but by adding that key ingredient, that fish protein. So now those city farms can not just grow produce, but also protein, which we all know is vital to survival.
Are any of the city fathers embracing this yet? Have you gone to the Bridgeports, the Waterburys, and New Havens, and have you gone to, you know, the governor's office and asked them about this to get you some money help?
So yeah, that's actually where we're approaching right now. We have had some support, some great support from Hartford, and we're now outreaching to the rest of the state. We were looking for an interested community who would like to pilot this type of program.
What's the biggest hurdle that you see down the road? Because you said to me, we think this is a lifelong thing, but at 25, I'm sure you're not sure, but you got a great start. So where do you see this headed?
Frankly, we see the potential for this to end hunger worldwide. I mean, what we want to do is sort of prove out the concept that, you know, if you can start with one building in one city and make that sustainable, then you can move that into multiple buildings in one city. And soon you have a city that can feed itself. And if you have one city that can feed itself, then you can replicate that in any city around the world. And with aquaponics, the technology is already proven that you can do it anywhere. You know, NASA is trying to bring it to space, for instance. So this is really, you know, farming of the future. And if we can prove that this works, you know, anywhere in the world, then we can really solve the issues that we're facing. So that's where we want to bring it.
Well, that is eloquently said from somebody who's 25 years old. So that is great. So we're going to grow lettuce. What else are we going to grow in water?
So yeah, this is where the aquaponics really shows its power. We're going to grow lettuce and all the nice greens you typically get from hydroponics, but then we also get that fish protein. We can grow any kind of fish, really, and we've grown tilapia in the past. We're going to be moving more towards local species.
So this would be farm-raised fish, if you will.
They'd be technically farm-raised fish in environments that are way cleaner and healthier than your typically farm-raised fish. There's been lots of questions in the news about farm-raised fish.
How safe is it?
Yeah, there's tons of antibiotics and all other stuff. Luckily with aquaponics, we're totally chemical free, and antibiotics would actually harm our system. The way we normally explain it is that any chemicals used for aquaculture, fish farming, will hurt our plants. Any plants used for typical farming, like hydroponics, will hurt our fish. So we can't use chemicals. Everything is kept totally organic, and therefore the fish are as happy as they can be. For all intents and purposes, they're living in the cleanest river they've ever been in.
I have a pond in my backyard, and we have koi in there.
Yeah.
They would love this to be eating, you know, the things that you're growing. We have a few more pictures, if we can just show those, about how you set this up and what this looks like. What is this?
This is my backyard system, what we're calling our conscious family garden.
Okay.
It's about a family size. It can feed produce and fish for a family. And what you're seeing is, before we filled it out, these empty beds with those kind of white tubes, each one of those is a grow bed. They're 12 square feet each. This system has 6 of the grow beds and the fish tank, which is 275 gallons.
Wow.
And yeah, and we grow our tilapia and koi and a giant goldfish, about the size of a football.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Another picture.
So this is it starting to fill out. There's some greens in here. I think there's quite a few different types of plants in there. We're sort of testing what works at this point.
Sure. And I think we have one more picture. And what is that contraption?
Yeah. So this is an indoor system, a desktop. We actually started on a desktop, then we progressed to the family size system.
In
you
somebody's
just saw.
house or apartment?
In Boston. We started in
Boston.
Boston in our apartment. We had one window that got like 3 hours of sunlight a day in an alley, and we put a little system in front of the window and started growing a basil plant and a tomato plant in there. And lo and behold, 2 guys with no experience farming ever grew really amazing basil and tomatoes in their apartment in Boston. And that's when we're like, wow, we're onto something. Let's see if we can do this more than right here on this desk. So that's when we went back to Connecticut and built that system we just showed you there.
Well, look what happened with a poli-sci major and a Latin and philosophy major. You've become indoor farmers. I wish you guys so much luck because you light up the room when you talk about aquaponics.
Thank you.
So I think other people should learn from you, and let's just see where this goes in the state of Connecticut.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Spencer and Kieran, thanks for coming on.
It's
Thank
been
you.
great, Ann. Thanks.
Made a trivial pursuits when we're missing. Who's this girl? Spend all night kissing, and the ball was right here. Then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked to find myself wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of my mind, just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know that you need me?